What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are finally getting into springtime. At least around where I live, we're getting close. Things are starting to warm up. Flowers are blooming. Grass is starting to grow back. Everything is happening. Starting to. We're on the very front end, depending on where you live at. But right now, where I'm at, things are finally starting to make a turn for the better. All you guys that fish know what I'm talking about. This is my favorite time of the year to be out there on the water. Water temps are coming up. Water levels are coming up. Fish are moving up. It's just that time of year. So today I wanted to talk about my number one bait that I always have on the front of my boat this time of year. And that is a lipless crankbait. Now, before I get into it, I'll be honest with you, I was very slow to catch on to a lipless crankbait. I didn't grow up fishing one, had no idea what it was about. I knew you could throw it in the fall time, them little small ones for shad, when they were with the shad spawn going on, stuff like that. But as far as a pre-spawn, spring time of the year bait, I didn't understand it. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago, I finally, figured out what it was, and just a little light bulb went off, and I was like, gosh almighty, I've been missing this. And for you guys that don't know, lipless crankbait is basically what the name of it means. It's a crankbait without a bill. 2 sets of trebles, your line ties up here at the top, and it just vibrates, shimmies in the water. Every one of them's different. You've got multiple colors, sizes, weights, all of that. We'll get into my favorites, the ones that I use, and just kind of give you some tips and tricks and help you guys to catch more fish on a lipless crankbait. So, to start it off, like I said, this is a springtime bait that you have got to have going into pre-spawn. And I throw this everywhere you would still throw a square bill, a deep crank, your football jigs, all this stuff. You can throw this in all of that. That's what some people don't understand, is this is not just a throw out there and wind back bait. You can fish this bait on the bottom like a jig. You can throw this around docks. You can throw it on wood. You can rip it out of grass. You can do all kinds of things with a lipless crankbait. Now, it all depends on what type of body of water you're on that dictates on how you utilize this bait. Like, for instance, I just fished a tournament on a highland reservoir that's, deeper water, long tapering points, humps, and we were fishing around a lot of rock. So this is a bait that I would throw out there and let it hit the bottom, and I'd fish it just like a jig. I mean, literally let it hit the bottom, and I'd pick it up, let that bait flutter, and it'd fall right back down. I'd pick it up and let it fall right back down. And that's all I was doing with that bait. It wouldn't have much action at all. It would just flutter up a little bit and just have a slow vibration flutter back down. And those fish, as soon as you would flutter it up and pause it, they'd come up and eat it. Now, if you're fishing on, say, the Tennessee River that's got grass, this is a bait that you would get on those grass edges on the big flats where the fish are going to move up to feed before they go into a spawning bait. You can take this bait and throw them in that grass and just wind them, and once it ticks the top of that grass, you yank it right out. Go back to winding it, let it hit that grass, yank it back out. So it is a very versatile bait, and I was very slow to realize how versatile this bait is. And even when we get into the spawn, when the fish really move up there shallow, this is a bait that you can burn the bank with. Wherever you would throw your spinner bait or chatterbait or anything like that, you can throw this guy. And it's just got that action, that tight action, almost like a flat-sided crankbait. And it's just something about it this time of year that those fish cannot resist. Now I'm going to get into some baits and some colors. and just kind of give you all a rundown on the select few that I use and how I kind of dictate some colors and which ones I use for certain situations. So what I want to do is I want to go over the baits themselves first. I'll touch on size and weight, and then we'll circle back around on color. The first bait and the main one I wanted to talk about in this video has got to be the Strike King Red Eye Shad. It's a very popular lipless crankbait. A lot of people throw it, but now they used to only have one version of this bait, but now they have the 2-tap. It's been out for just a little while, but instead of your traditional sound, that real high pitch, a lot of BB sound, this 2-tap has more of that one knocker sound, a little bit lower pitch, more of a thud, and to me that is key in the spring, the pre-spawn time. Something about that sound, that one knocker sound, to me gets way bigger bites than anything else. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but that's where my confidence is. And my favorite size in the Strike King is gotta be just a 1/2 ounce. If you were gonna get one, get a 1/2 ounce Strike King Red Eye Shad and you're set. It is a fantastic bait in the grass, fishing it on bottom, straight retrieve, everything. It has a really, really unique fall to it when you rip this bait off the bottom or out of grass. It has a really, really natural flutter back down. It is just hands down one of my personal favorites. The other one that I would tell you to get, if you were just going to get one or maybe two, has got to be the original rattle trap. Everybody has grown up around fishing the Bill Lewis rattle trap. They've been around forever. They were one of the first to bring this to market, and they've got way too many colors in my opinion. You can find every shade and pattern, all of that in the rattle trap. So it's pretty cool on color wise. But this is just a bait it's the OG, and it continues to catch fish. That again, I would get a 1/2 ounce in a couple colors, you'd be set. This bait, I really like throwing this bait in grass. To me, it does a lot better around grass than any other lipless crankbait. Now, for the guy that's going to mainly fish highland reservoirs like I talked about earlier, if you're going to be throwing on points, deep humps, fishing this bait on the bottom and just slowly lifting it up, I would have to go and get an LV 500 by Lucky Craft. This is a 3/4 ounce bait, very, very aggressive sound, and that 3/4 ounce is going to let that bait get to the bottom quick, and as soon as you rip that bait off the bottom, it's going to go right back down. And when I'm fishing these highland reservoirs and those spots are just sitting down on a hump and say 20-25 foot of water, that's the first one that I'd go to. When I'm going to fish this bait just like you would a jig. I mean, just think about when you go and stroke a jig, you throw it out there and let it hit the bottom, and you just pick up, let it go slack, hit the bottom, pick up, let it hit the bottom. That's all you're going to do with this bait. This is not a bait that I go and cover water with, just throwing it at the bait and winding it back. It doesn't do that well to me fishing it that way. This is strictly a bottom contact bait, but only in that 3/4 ounce. They've got 1/2 ounce and 1/4 ounce, but to me, some of these other baits do a better job in that 1/2 ounce and 1/4 ounce size. Now, the final one I've got is, I used to throw this bait, and it was a company named Excalibur, and they used to make these lipless crankbaits, but they went out of business, and Booyah bought them, and so now it's the Booyah one knocker lipless crankbait, and it's, like I just said, that one knocker sound again. This is a bait that goes hand in hand to me with the Strike King Red Eye Shad. It has a very close action to that Strike King, a little bit less money, The Strike King just has a little bit better colors to me, and the stock hardware is a little bit better. I always change the hooks out on my Booyah traps. But this one again is a fantastic do everything rattle trap. If you're on a budget and just want to go, not drop a whole lot of money on some prank baits, I would go and get the Booyah in the one knocker. Fantastic bait. Now, size wise, to me on weights, if you're wanting a do everything, you may be fishing it on the bottom, and then you may go to covering water on the bank. You may be just fishing these big grass flats. I would go with a 1/2 ounce pretty much the whole time. But if you're going to be doing more of the bottom contact, I would have to go with a 3/4 ounce bait like that LV500. So now that we went over that, I'm going to circle back around to colors. And colors can be very confusing, especially to me when I have 70 of them to choose from. And that's why in my box, you can see I don't have that many colors. I've got reds, some chromes, and some shad patterns. And that's it. That's the only thing, that's the only 3 types of colors that I'm going to throw. Now, when it gets confusing is the different shades of red. You can see both of these are that red craw color, but this one's more of a darker red, and this one's more of a kind of an orange shade with a black back. The shades, don't let that throw you off. Let the watercolor and the conditions, like if it's cloudy or sunny or clear blue skies, let all that dictate what shade of color you pick. I'm going to pick that solid shade. Like if I'm going to throw a red one, I'm going to pick this one up, the dark shade of red, when I've got a little bit more color in the water. Maybe it's a little bit more overcast, low visibility situations. But if I'm in a body of water that's maybe I'm seeing 4 or 5 foot of visibility and it's a little bit more sunny, I'm going to go to a little bit not so bright of a red color, a little bit dulled down of a red. And that goes the same on your shad colors. You can see this one's a kind of an in-between shad and chrome, but this is one that I'm going to throw when I've got a real sunny, real high sun day. You can throw this one in a little bit more stained water because it does have a little bit brighter, it's a brighter chrome, but this one's more of a sunny condition. But then you got this shade of a shad pattern, and it's more translucent. All of my translucent colors I throw sunny days, and I've got really, really deep water visibility. Most of the time on your highland reservoirs when you can see 8, 9, 10 foot down, and it's really sunny. That's when I'm going to throw those more translucent colors. My chromes, you got all kinds of chrome: gold, silver, silver blue, silver black. That's something you have to play around. Each body of water is different, and each condition. One day they might be biting a chrome and blue. The next they're going to bite a gold and black. That's something you just have to play around. I don't have a perfect formula for this. It's just something you've got to have multiple to test out. But all of my chromes I like to throw when I do have a really, really sunny day. I feel like when that sun can beam through the water and you can get a lot of flash out of that chrome, that's when it's best. To me, I don't see the need in throwing a chrome bait when I've got real muddy water and it's a real cloudy day, because that's not going to reflect off that bait and give off that shine in the water. So I hope this kind of narrows it down for you. Like I said, if you just want to get 1 or 2 baits, I would have to go and get something like the Red Eye Shad or the original Rattle Trap by Bill Lewis. 1/2 ounce and 3 or 4 of these colors, you're fine. But if you want to get technical, that's when you can get into stuff like the Lucky Craft LV500. in the description, I'm going to link all of this stuff. I'm going to list out baits, colors, rod, line size, all of that good stuff. Going to be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and if you could, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.